The Shimmer in Terraria's Aether biome is one of the most fascinating things in the entire game. As many of you already know, the Shimmer's main purpose is to modify items. Specifically, the Shimmer can swap many complementary items such as the Pocket Mirror and Blindfold, for example. The Shimmer can also be used to craft many consumables which grant permanent stat buffs to the player. In addition, the Shimmer may also be used to decraft almost any item in the game, which is extremely useful for reusing resources from past armor and weapon sets that are no longer useful to you, or even fixing your mistakes if you crafted the wrong item. The final type of Shimmer Transmutation is when certain items will straight up receive a direct upgrade by simply dropping them into the Shimmer. This might be obvious, but every Shimmer Transmutation in the game can be useful in some scenarios, so I'll be covering the most useful and game-changing transmutations in this video so as to give you an idea of just how powerful the Shimmer can be and what it can do for you in your next playthrough. Let's start with the permanent buff consumables. I plan on making a full video about these consumables specifically, including the ones that are granted outside the Shimmer, so I'll be brief here. To get all of the permanent buffs available through the Shimmer, simply collect a life crystal, which you can find by mining, a mana crystal crafted with 5 fallen stars, a life fruit, which can be found in the jungle after one mechanical boss has been defeated, any piece of fruit obtained by shaking trees, a gold worm, which can be found in a can of worms or on the surface, and a pink pearl, which is a rare drop from oysters which are found by fishing in the desert. All of these items can be thrown into the Shimmer to receive a permanent buff consumable corresponding with the item that was used. Consuming all of these will grant you permanent increases to your life regen, mana regen, defense, mining and building speed, fishing power, and luck. If you don't know what luck is in Terraria, definitely go check out my last video where I explain everything there is to know about it. The next item on our list is one of my favorites, and it's the Enchanted Sundial. The Enchanted Sundial is an extremely useful item that can be obtained from various crates when fishing. The item can be placed and then right-clicked to skip to the beginning of the next in-game day. What's even more cool though is that if you have an extra sundial, you can throw it into the Shimmer and receive an Enchanted Moondial, which will skip to the next in-game night as the name implies. Both items can only be used once per 7 in-game days, so having both is super nice since you can double the time skip if you use them right. This can help you get angler quests done faster, get the traveling merchant to come around more often, and much more. Speaking of the traveling merchant, he's a very useful but sometimes frustrating NPC. The frustrating part comes in when the traveling merchant refuses to sell the item that you need. Especially with all those items he sells that you need for the cell phone, it can be annoying to wait sometimes 5 or more in-game days between appearances. Luckily, there is a way to make this grind a little faster beyond the previous tip, and that is by using the Peddler's Satchel. If you kill the traveling merchant, he'll drop the Peddler's Hat, which is a vanity item that can be worn by the player. If you have access to a few stink bugs, I'd recommend crafting the Fly Meal, which is a sword that can be used to kill friendly NPCs. Alternatively, you can simply use lava or just drown him. Once you have the hat, you can simply throw it into the Shimmer to get the Peddler's Satchel. This item is a consumable that can only be used once per world, but it will cause the traveling merchant to permanently sell one extra item every time he stops by. This extra item really adds up between different visits, and using this strategy will allow you to get your items much faster. This next item on our list includes 2 amazingly useful items that are direct upgrades of pre-Moonlord items and can only be shimmered after Moonlord is defeated. The first is the Rod of Discord, which is obtained as a very rare drop from Chaos Elementals. The Rod of Discord allows you to freely teleport to the position of your cursor, however you will receive a debuff that effectively limits you to using the item once every 5 seconds unless you want to take damage. Throwing the Rod of Discord into the Shimmer after Moonlord is defeated will yield the Rod of Harmony, which is the exact same thing except without the debuff, meaning you can use the item over and over as fast as you want with no downside. The second item that has a similar upgrade is the Clantaminator, purchased from the Steampunker for 2 platinum in hard mode. The Clantaminator is a tool that's used to convert blocks into a specific biome type, and it's especially nice for purifying the world's evil biome if it spreads into unwanted areas. Each Clantaminator spray is about 60 by 5 tiles in area, but after upgrading the Clantaminator at the Shimmer, the player receives the Terraformer, which has a spray area of 90 by 7 tiles. In addition, it also gains a 33% chance not to consume solution. This tool is insanely powerful at spreading virtually any biome with ease, and at the very least, it's a lot of fun to mess around with. I'm sure you can tell by now that the Shimmer is pretty useful, so what if you could bring it anywhere you wanted with ease? Well, you can, as after defeating Moonlord, you can actually throw a bottomless water bucket into the Shimmer and receive a bottomless Shimmer bucket, which does exactly what you think it does. The bucket will allow you to pour out Shimmer wherever you want, but just note that any Shimmer pool needs to be at least 3 blocks deep to properly transmute items, since any less won't allow for them to be fully submerged. Now that you have unlimited access to the Shimmer, you might want a way to avoid getting sucked into the earth every time you fall into it by accident. Well, the Chromatic Cloak is just the item for you. Throwing the Star Cloak, which can be received as a drop from Mimics, into the Shimmer will turn into the Chromatic Cloak, which simply grants the player immunity to the Shimmer debuff when worn, allowing you to swim around in the Shimmer without falling through. Now, I will admit, this one isn't particularly useful, but it is very interesting and good to know about in case you ever wanted to take a dip into the Shimmer. If you've ever fished during during the Blood Moon, there's a chance you fished up a book called Advanced Combat Techniques. This book is actually a consumable that, when used, permanently increases the defense of all your NPCs by 6 and their attack damage by 20%. Once this item is used, throwing a spell tome sold by the wizard into the Shimmer will provide the sequel to this book, Advanced Combat Techniques 2, which can be consumed to provide another round of permanent buffs to your NPCs. Another fun fact is that your NPCs also get this buff after defeating each boss type for the first time in a given world. One of the best ways to use the Shimmer is for item swapping. A great example of this is the mining armor set. For those who don't know, the mining helmet can be purchased from the merchant for 1 gold. As for the rest of the set, killing an undead miner in the cavern lair has a chance to drop either the mining pants or the mining shirt. Luckily for you, if you end up getting 2 of the same piece, you can throw one of them into the Shimmer to get the other piece instead. I use this every time I'm grinding for the mining armor in any playthrough. Another thing I do every playthrough is grind for the Ankh Shield, which is an item that grants immunity to most debuffs in the game. The Ankh Shield has an infamously large crafting tree, including many items from different biomes that each grant immunity to a specific debuff. The beauty of the Shimmer is that it can transmute any of these items into its opposite counterpart that it can be combined with. To explain in a bit more detail, the reflective shades, for example, are crafted with a pocket mirror and a blindfold, so throwing a blindfold into the Shimmer will yield a pocket mirror and vice versa. Same goes for the vitamins and armor polish, the Bezoar and adhesive bandage, the Nazar and the megaphone, and the fast clock with the trifold map. This makes getting the Ankh charm and by extension the shield 10 times easier, since you can just farm for 2 of the easier item in the combo and then transmute one of them to complete the set. For example, the Nazar is one of the more annoying drops to farm for in my opinion, but getting a megaphone is as easy as sitting in the surface hollow for about 5 minutes. So I'll usually just get 2 megaphones and transmute one to make the counter curse mantra. Another amazing transmutation is the bewitching table and alchemy table pairing. In some worlds, it can be possible to snag one of these items from the dungeon before getting killed by the dungeon guardian. I'm talking about pre-Skeletron, of course. This is made even better when combined with the Shimmer, because if you're able to grab one of these and you wanted the other one, you can simply take a quick trip to the Shimmer and transmute it. So as you can tell, the Shimmer is an absolutely amazing tool that will help you progress through the game quicker and get exclusive buffs and items that can't be obtained anywhere else. The Shimmer can be found in the underground or cavern layers on the same side of your world as the jungle. To be brief, if looking to find it in your world, I'd recommend digging holes straight down starting at the surface near your ocean on the jungle side of your world. I've found that the Shimmer typically generates very close to the edge of the world, and you can then keep branching closer to the center if you don't find it. Then I'd recommend using either the cavern pylon or the mushroom pylon and making a small house near the Shimmer for easy travel to and from. Let me know in the comments down below if you'd like to see a full video on how to find the Shimmer in your world, or if you have any other video ideas that you'd like me to consider in the future. And if you enjoyed this video and hopefully learned something new, please subscribe to help us reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year.